Hey guys, this is Sharp Tutorials, and today I'm going to be talking about the class guide for the Marksman Sniper. And so jumping right in quick to the utilities, my style of guide is just to briefly gloss over everything because I think most of it you can read, but I'll tell you the important things. Number one, snipe reduces the cast time for ambush, which is important. Second, penetrating blast, besides just doing damage, also sunders the target, which is good. You want to put that on early. Then this next important thing is the energy regeneration. In this spec, we don't really have too many energy problems, but if it ever comes up, just make sure you're in cover and maybe do your no force attack. But instead of running around, you want to be in cover for that extra regeneration. And then everything else is pretty standard. Fall through might be a little tricky to understand, but basically you just want to hit that as soon as your ambush, takedown, penetrating blast, all of that finishes. Snipe, you usually do it 2 times in a row to reset it, so that's good. Your snipes, which is again, it helps you with your energy, and portable bunker is kind of important because when we not only does it increase the duration of entrench, which is good, but also when we use the cover to escape, we use entrench for a second. So when we're getting rolled, when we roll away from people, we can't get stunned and get pulled out of cover, so that's good. Everything else is just basically a DPS increase. Snipe again helps snipe, so you want to each time you cast snipe, the next time it will hit harder, and then follow through is helped. And so again, this is a very DPS oriented spec. We don't have a lot of survivability built into our discipline path, but we take our survivability and our utility. So I'm going to try to run through this really quickly. First, you want to take ballistic dampers. Having a 30% absorb on 3 attacks is very helpful. Also, the next thing is snapshot, which has an instant snipe, which is a direct DPS increase. These both occur every 6 seconds, so that basically means every 6 seconds you want to pop in and out of cover, and I'll show where I do that in my rotation. The next one I picked is a new in 4.0, and cover pulse increases your chance to resist force and tech attacks. This is very helpful because usually when I activate cover pulse, I'm pushing melee away, and then when they're away, they usually use their 10-meter range force attacks. That's helpful. Also, this can be used as a defensive against sorks if you're doing a 35 meters away range battle. The next one, Masterful Tier, I take 3. The pushback on the final tick of penetrating blasts is really a no-brainer because it really helps with melee getting up in your face, and you have an extra pushback for up all. Shiv is very handy for the extra speed boost, so you can roll in and then get double speed boost. You see the second speed boost leads into my next utility point, which is seek cover, and this means when your entrench ends, you get a 50% increase and immunity to movement impairing effects, which helps you readjust, which you have to do in PvP a lot. And then pillbox sniper, this just helps you get the entrench that basically makes you a player. You can maintain your cool and DPS even if melee are all around you, and then cover pulse knocks them back farther. That's helpful just because anytime they're not in range, they can't attack you. And then down to heroic, I only took 1, but there's a lot of other ones you can take. The 5% damage reduction is just a no-brainer. Like, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to cast anything, it's always there. And then cooldown of ballistic shields, it gives 20% damage reduction to your whole team, and so if you put that on a node, that's a huge difference. And so then you have a couple other arguments. If you want a shorter cooldown of a stun, maybe Imperial Preparation. I tried this out and it just really wasn't that helpful, so I can't really recommend this, maybe though. And then if you want extra trauma, you have an argument for that, but honestly, I can usually burst down a healer or anyone that this damage reduction, I have more trouble staying alive than bursting down people. So that's just a personal playstyle. And then although this helps all of our cooldowns, we have to break our DPS, and this we can keep DPSing with the damage reduction. So as you can probably tell, you have some leeway in moving stuff around, but I've tried this out and it works pretty well. Segment to talk about obviously is rotation, and I just want to preempt this by saying that this rotation is pretty simplistic, but it works pretty well. Just to give a quick shout out to another YouTuber, Almighty Swarter, Star Wars Gamer. He's Constantine, you might have heard of him, has a slightly different rotation, and I tried them both out. I gave them an honest try, and I got an increase of maybe 150, 200 DPS a second, so it's slightly better, but it's a lot to keep track of. So this is something doable that you can quickly learn and implement in a fight, and as you'll see, it stacks with other people and helps. Just quickly, corrosive dart. If you didn't already know, this puts a debuff on the target for all of the ranged, which is us, and then Lay's target comes right after that in the seconds before, in the global cooldown. And I put this early because, unlike my target acquired, which I'll get to later, this is used up on ambushes, and its duration is long enough so that we can cast it early and have our next two ambushes be helped by the auto crit. And because we cast it earlier, we can get it again earlier. So that over time, this is a DPS increase by putting it earlier in your rotation. Next, you want to hit them with a penetrating blast, again to put the second debuff, our second debuff on the target to sunder them. Hit a fall through because after a penetrating blast, we can use a fall through. Sniper volley to get the penetrating blast back right again. Hit a fall through right after that. Then we want to double snipe, fall through, because after a double snipe it resets fall through. Ambush, and then as soon as we're done casting ambush, so right here at the very end when the ambush is traveling in the air, we want to hit our target acquired so that we're buffed the moment our ambush hits the target, and then after that another fall through. And so then that's pretty simple. Next layer, if you want to go a little bit more in depth, is again we were talking about every 6 seconds we want to be in and out of cover. So I recommend getting into cover just as we're hitting the dart, the vital dart or corrosive dart. After this, your one snipe, you can get in and out again and have your second snipe instant. So basically, the only thing we're really casting is our ambush, and that's short cooldown. So into cover. In and out of cover. And then right at the end, we hit our target acquired, and then that way we can continue our DPS again. And just our next segment for this video is just moves I think are important. And top of the list, of course, is going to be the way PvP is working, at least for my server, is there's a significant amount of healers. Tunneling them or tunneling other DPS that are getting healed is sometimes hard. Hopefully you will have tanks that are putting trauma on everyone, but if not, you're going to have to put it on. So quick shatter shot when going into your DPS will help your teammate take them down. We should probably talk about orbital strike, and this is great to put on in places you know everyone's going to walk in. Say this is the doorway in the Void Star and you know that a bunch of people are walking through. Just put it right there. They'll be slowing down. People are putting slows on them. Attack a couple times. Each of this is probably taking about 3 or 4k, so it's decent damage. The next segment we should probably talk about is defensives, and this is important because although sniper defensives might seem a little tricky to handle, if you get the hang of them, you have pretty good survivability. Alright, so jumping right in. First, when you start taking damage, I would recommend hitting your shield probe, because it's just a straight absorb damage and it has a pretty short cooldown, so you'll get it again. Next, our entrench. I did everything I can to get the entrench going as quick as possible. It basically just looks like a bigger shield, and with entrench you can't get stunned, you can't get pushed back, and it helps you stay in cover and just be harder to interrupt. And again, when we come out of entrench, we get a little speed boost. But when this starts wearing off, what you actually do is pop in and out of cover, and then you get another speed boost. So technically you can do this 3 or 4 times, but again, I would save trench for when there's a high probability of you getting stunned versus just a movement increase. Alright, next is evasion, and this is only melee and ranged attacks. So if you see a bunch of power attacks and a bunch of scoundrel scrappers coming at you, do not cast this because it will not dodge the tech attacks. This is what you want to use against other snipers, against marauders, the melee characters, but not against sages and all those other classes that use force and tech. Alright? And then next, Cooldown, this has two really good uses. One, just an accuracy debuff, and two, it helps you take down other snipers. For example, what I'll do is I'll go through my rotation, get up to where I'm about to cast my ambush, and then my ambush will hit them out of cover and do a lot more damage. And if they really cast this earlier and maybe they're not smart enough and they won't realize they're in diversion and they won't realize they're out of cover, but for the good ones I would do this right before your ambush because that's your biggest hitting ability. And if you want, after your ambush you can root them, and rooting them in the diversion again prolongs its effect. And even when they get out of your diversion and our utilities, I think it's it's the effects of diversion last after it ends and they move out of it, so that's good. Next thing we should know is our ballistic shield, and again, as I talked about earlier, all this is just a big old, everyone in here has another 20% damage reduction, which is even more than a war adrenal, so you definitely want to be using this when you're in the thick of things, and yeah, it'll just help you with your team surviving. And then this may not seem like a defensive, but our covered escape is huge. We dodge attacks is everything, and this is where you can start dodging your tech attacks as well as other snipers, ambushes, and all that stuff. So aside from just rolling, dodging attacks, once you're in an entrenched, you can get your movement speed increase. It helps you stay alive. And then since we took it in our utilities, our force and tech attacks, acting cover pulse gives us a little shield thing and we can resist it. So in general, you want to cast this for everything, this for melee and range, this for force and tech, accuracy debuff, survivability, and then when we get through everything, we can reset everything with sniper volley. Say we do a roll, our evasion, shield, probe, entrench, we're all out of utilities, we can just reset everything and do it all again.
Interception! Rotworms are gonna be out for blood!
So that just about wraps up this video, guys. I hope you learned something. I hope my suggestions helped you some. And if you disagree with anything, please just tell me in the comments. I'm always interested in learning more and refining my style. As people pointed out in my other tutorials, I don't talk about stats just because I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough and to be sure on them, but just to show you I'm stacking a lot of alacrity, and as I get more augments, I'm going to get a lot more. So yeah, get a lot of alacrity and crit. But again, if you get your 6-piece set bonus and get ranked gear as soon as possible, once you get the playstyle down, that's a lot more important than the little 1% extra DPS. So thanks for watching, guys.